Definitely much harder to get funding from a bank, especially because as a restaurant, we are considered high risk.
The challenge is getting money to start a restaurant in any situation. The number one reason for restaurant failure, as with any retail food business, is undercapitalization, not having enough money. Here's how a culinary duo defied the odds, got creative with funding, and quickly created a profitable restaurant.
Ras is a vegan Ethiopian restaurant. We make traditional Ethiopian dishes served in a modern way.
We have 2 locations, one in Brooklyn and Crown Heights and one in the West Village.
I think that a lot of people find that vegan cuisine is not always flavorful, but my husband managed to make all these dishes in a magical way.
What they've done correctly is that they have said, you're a vegan restaurant that serves Ethiopian style, rather than Ethiopian style that's vegan. And that's an important distinction, because when you set up a restaurant, you want to have as big a net as possible to get customers in. Even though vegan is a small group, a small subset of a market, the net for vegan is much bigger than the net for Ethiopian.
I think it was when Romeo's dad got sick that we started to lean more into veganism.
In 2017, my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I remember the surgeon telling him his chances of survival were 3 years with chemo and 1 year without chemo. And I know food can heal, so I did a lot of research on plant-based food, and I decided to become his personal chef for the rest of his chemo sessions, which was 6 months. And my dad is cancer-free now, and that's how Ras was born.
When looking for funds to open Ras, we didn't anticipate having so much difficulty raising capital. We didn't have a proven concept, so no bank was rushing to give us capital. One route that we took was applying for an SBA loan.
The SBA is a guarantor. They actually don't give you the money. The bank gives you the money, and the bank uses the SBA to guarantee the loan. So often you're going through what's called an SBA authorized bank, which might be Citibank, it might be JP Morgan Chase.
For SBA loans, you have to have been open for 2 years. So as a new business, it kind of was impossible.
And the bank is going to ask for what you might consider to be normal requirements. The SBA is going to require experience. They may require some form of collateral. They may require the option to have a full lien on everything that you have. So it's not an easy loan to get and requires an enormous amount of paperwork to get it.
After we were denied the SBA loans, we cleared out all of our savings in order to be able to open Ras. While it's not something that I recommend today, it's definitely not something I regret looking back.
They went all in with their personal money to start this business, which is really noble and shows how passionate they are. It would have been a good idea if they could have gotten investors who would not be allowed to participate in any of the decisions. And A, they would have been able to protect all of their day-to-day decision-making, which they were concerned about losing. And B, it would have given them the money they needed without exposing them to such high levels of personal risk.
If I were to give advice today to any new business owner or potential business owner, it would be to not use the entirety of your savings, maybe just a percentage, 20%, 30%, whatever is feasible for you. Do you remember when we got the bar pieces?
I could not believe this what it took to complete construction. I do remember this day.
Yeah. We had to look into other creative ways to come up with the capital to finish construction. We were only about halfway through and needed about $100,000 more in cash to continue the project. Started up an Indiegogo campaign, which is crowdfunding basically. Our goal was to raise $100,000. We managed to raise $30,000, mostly with the help of friends and family.
When you think that online funding is going to be the possible way that you're going to get money, there needs to be very specific legal language when there's a transaction online done so that everyone understands clearly what their responsibilities are and what their returns will be.
What made our campaign stand out was the perks. You want your perks to be fun and to be playful. You want it to be an experience. So when we did the Indiegogo campaign, we had like cooking classes. We had a private dinner in the entire restaurant full of candles. You want people to kind of experience something that they wouldn't on an ordinary day. I also think that it's really important to tell a story, why you're opening the space, what your purpose is, and people are more likely to contribute to something that they feel a connection to. And then maybe we could put a box around that.
We opened our first location, which is in Brooklyn, in 2020, so 1 week before the pandemic.
Some of the biggest hurdles we ran into once Ras was up and running at 100% was that this was our first time in that role, and we had now started this really great brand, but without having much prior management experience, Romy and I didn't really know how to manage the team that we had. We reached out to some consultants, and they came in, evaluated our business, and gave us really important tips on how to succeed.
When looking for a consultant, you want a consultant that has experience in what you need them for. The best experience is for a consultant who has actually been there and done it. Someone who's owned food businesses, owned restaurants, has been in the line of fire, and has the stories and the experience to be able to translate that into your business. That's the number one. Number two is you want somebody that's local. You want somebody that understands the market. Number three is you want somebody that financially fits into your budget and you understand how much they're going to charge you.
The consultants helped us to create systems for the restaurant, for both back and front of house. They helped us to create checklists so our team wouldn't come in and not know what to do. They helped us to create a better culture by creating values.
You're hiring a consultant to be your restaurant doctor. And if you don't tell the doctor all about your physical ailments, your entire health history, that consultant is going to be handicapped in coming up with solutions. In fact, it's really important to be as transparent as you can, as well as what you want out of this.
It's not easy to have someone you don't know come into your business and tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. But the only way to grow is to listen to these suggestions and take actionable measures.
From year one, we were turning 16 to 18% profit. Mom and pop shops usually make 5 to 6% if they're lucky. We were lucky, we owe it to our consultants because they helped us a lot to tighten our cost and our labor costs, our food cost.
The number one thing to concern yourself in the food world is prime costs. And prime costs is the cost of labor, the cost of benefits, and the cost of product cost. And the product cost includes food and beverage. You want those prime costs as a percentage of sales to be less than 60% of sales. Prime cost is 75 to 80% of all of the things you can control in a restaurant. And that's why it's such a big focus.
Our long-term goal for Ras is to have one in every city. We want to open 100 locations.
Let me know what you think.
But we want to do it in a way where Ras doesn't lose its core. Yum.
They totally understand that a restaurant is a relationship experience. It's not just food. You're selling food, you're selling service, you're selling ambiance. And the challenge in a restaurant is managing and maintaining those standards every single day of every single week of every single year in every single location.
Where our values still stand true, where our teams are still happy, even though we can't be at every location, and where our guests feel like they're at home.